Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Depends on when you watch this video. My name is Zuzaeli Auzan and I am from 7F. And today I will make an explanation about some object. Then who later that I will analyze it by using the semiotic styles in order to complete the semiotics midterm test conducted by Ms. Forus and Mr. Dadan Rusmana, who has been a great lecturer for me and for my friends in the class. Okay, we go to the first, which is Ms. Zuzaeli Auzan, which is me. So today I am going to make an explanation about my semiotics understanding first, then take an object and analyze it by using semiotics analysis or kind of style. But first, my name is Zuzaeli Auzan, and people used to call me Zuzael until this day, and people also used to call me Jan or Auzan or the very least, and the least that I like, people used to call me Yeli. Next, we go into the semiotics first by my understanding or by my point of view or by my perspective. For me, semiotics is the study of signs and symbols and how they are used to convey meaning in various forms of communication, including language, art, and cultural expression. It explores how signs and symbols function as a system of representation and how they shape our understanding of the world. Semiotics is used in various fields, including linguistics, literature, marketing, art analysis, anthropology, and communication studies. It helps researchers and scholars analyze and understand how meaning is created, communicated, and interpreted in different contexts. And then before I go to the object that I will use and analyze, first I will take an understanding of semiotics by the three expertise that I included in these slides. The first one is Ferdinand de Saussure. Semiotics, as defined by Ferdinand de Saussure, is the study of science and their relationship with the language and culture. It examines how science function as a part of a system where meaning is derived from the differences and relationship between science rather than from inherent qualities of the science themselves. Saussure's approach emphasized the structural and relational aspects of science, focusing on the interplay between signifiers, which is the physical form of a sign, and signifieds, which is the mental concept or meanings associated with those signs. Okay, now I'm sweating. I don't know why. Or maybe because Bandung is very hot nowadays. And the next one is from Charles Sander Peirce. Semiotics, according to Charles Sander Peirce, is the study of signs and the processes of signification. It involves the examination of how signs function in the realm of human cognition and communication. Peirce developed a triadic model of signs that consists of three key elements: the sign, which is the representative, then the object, which the science refers to, and then the interpretant, which the effects or understanding produces in the mind of an interpreter. Semiotics, in Peirce's point of view, explores the intricate relationships and dynamic processes among those elements to understand how meaning is constructed and conveyed. And then, from Ferdinand de Saussure, from Charles Sanders Peirce, we go into the third, which is Algernon Julian Grimas. Maybe the least popular compared to those two before, but also one of the greats in semiotics aspects. Semiotics, as understood by Algernon Julian Grimas, is the study of signs and their functions within narratives and discourses. Grimas' approach to semiotics is particularly focused on understanding how meaning is constructed in cultural and linguistic texts. He developed a complex and formal model known as the semiotic square, which is the square, yeah, the square, or accentual model, to analyze the relationship between elements within narratives. This model allows for the exploration of binary oppositions and the transformation of meanings in text. Okay, after reading all those expertise take on their approach in semiotics, now we go to the main topic of today, which is analyzing an object and using it in semiotic style. First, the object I choose is literature, and the form of literature that I choose is a poetry, and the poetry that I choose is one of the greatest poems of all time, I think, and one of the most deepest uh, poetry that I've ever read. The poem is a moment of happiness created by Jalaluddin Rumi, which is one of the greatest of poets in this world. And first, I will read the poem. A moment of happiness. You and I sitting on the veranda, apparently two, but one in soul. You and I. We feel the flowing water of life here. You and I, with the garden's beauty, with the birds singing. The stars will be watching us, and we will show them what it is to be a thin crescent moon. You and I and self will be together, indifferent to idle speculation. You and I, the parrots of heaven, will be croaking sugar as we laugh together. You and I, in one form upon this earth, and in another form in a timeless, sweet land. Oh wow, I got shivers by reading the poem, and now we go to the next topic. Not the next topic, but the next explanation. But first of all, I choose this poem because I think a moment of happiness is one of the first poem that I ever read when I started to learn about poetry, and because of one of my idol, which is Ahmadani, he idolized Jalaluddin Rumi so much, and because of that, I knew Jalaluddin Rumi and I read some of his work, and I think A Moment of Happiness is the greatest poem that he ever created. That's why I choose that poem and I analyze it today. Uh, and today I will analyze the poem by using semiotics that used by Algernon Julian Greimas, which is the Greimmasian semiotics or Parisian semiotics. And the semiotic is focusing first on the actants. In the actants, Rumi himself can be considered the primary actant, expressing his thoughts and feelings. As actant itself is a structural semiotic, sorry, and is used to analyze and describe the roles and function of characters and elements within a narrative. This is why the actant here is Rumi himself as a subject. By using the words I in his lines, other actants might include the beloved, which is an abstract concept, nature, or any other entities mentioned in the poem. In the function of each actant, Rumi might be the seeker of happiness, the beloved might be the source of happiness, and nature could represent the setting or context in which the search for happiness occurs. And then the semiotics, the Parisian semiotic or Grimasian semiotic, also focusing on its contractual relation. The contract relations in this poem is between Rumi and the beloved, examining the seeker's pursuit of happiness and the role of the beloved in providing that happiness. First, by looking at the seeker's quest for happiness, this beautiful poem, this beautiful poem portrays the seeker, which is, and obviously, Rumi himself as the protagonist who seeks for happiness. This can be seen as a contractual relation where the seeker is in pursuit of a certain emotional or spiritual state. Then the next contractual relation in that poem are the beloved as the source of happiness. The beloved, often depicted as an abstract concept representing God or divine love in Rumi's poetry, plays a crucial role. Then the last contractual relation I found is about ecstasy and surrender. The poem alludes to moments of ecstasy when the seeker is overwhelmed by overwhelmed with passion. This can be seen as a contractual relation with the emotional state of ecstasy, a fleeting contract between the seeker's yearning heart and the beloved person's. Surrendering this ecstasy is a part of the contract. And then the Parisian semiotics or Grimatian semiotic focuses on its modalities. In this poem, which is a moment of happiness created by Jalaluddin Rumi, the modalities are those kinds of different emotional states, such as longing, ecstasy, or despair. As Rumi reflects on moment of happiness and the pursuit of love. In Jalaluddin Rumi's poem, A Moment of Happiness, there are various modalities or modes that reflects different emotional and spiritual states experienced by the speaker. These modalities contribute to the richness and depth of the poem. The first modalities are intense longing. The poem begins with an intense longing for a moment of happiness. The speaker's longing represents a modality of desire and yearning for something transcendent and beautiful. Then the next modalities are about ecstasy and passion. As the poem progresses, it describes moments of ecstasy and passion. These modalities represent either emotional and spiritual states where the seeker is overwhelmed by the presence of the beloved. The next modalities are the realization of transience, that towards the end of the poem, there is a shift in modality as the speaker comes to a realization about the impermanence of his happiness. This modality reflects a sense of acceptance and understanding of the ephemeral nature of joy. And then the next point in Grimatian semiotics or Parisian semiotic, it's is its narrative structure. Uh, this poem maybe doesn't follow a traditional narrative structure with distinctive plot elements, characters, and linear sequence of events. Instead, it is lyrical or contemplative poem that conveys emotional and spiritual experiences. This poem narrative structure started with an initial situation. Sorry, man. There's a lot of typo in this video. In the first few lines of the poem, Rumi represents the initial situation. The poem opens with the description of a moment of happiness, where the speaker is overwhelmed with passion. This sets the stage for the emotional and spiritual journey that follows. Then moving to the conflict part, as the poem delves into moments of ecstasy and longing, as the speaker described the passionate experience of being with the beloved, the conflict or transformation in this context is the emotional and spiritual transformation that takes place as the speaker seeks and experiences moments of divine love. Afterwards, moving to its resolution part, towards the end of the poem, there is a realization of the fleeting nature of happiness. This realization can be considered the resolution or culmination of the emotional journey. The speaker acknowledges that moments of happiness are ephemeral. And then, moving to the semiotic square, which is one of the key or the main important section in Grimatian semiotics or in Parisian semiotics, is uh, the we must introduce the concept of the semiotic square to explore binary opposition and contradiction in narrative, as I mentioned before. First is happiness. The poem begins with a description of a moment of happiness, emphasizing the emotional state of ecstasy and contentment. This is a positive and desired state representing the pole A of the square. So, in the pole A of the square, which is the positive part, there is a happiness. And then, while not explicitly mentioned in the poem, the fleeting nature of happiness implies its contrary, unhappiness. And then the poem acknowledgement of the impermanence of happiness serve as the contrary to the initial happiness described. So in here we got the pole A, which is happiness, and then we got the pole B in on the contradicted part, which is unhappiness. And then secondly, the speaker's intense longing and desire for happiness are evident throughout the poem. This emotional state is complementary to happiness, as it indicated a desire for fulfillment. And then in the pole A, in this is happiness, and then it's complemented by the speaker intense longing and desire for happiness. And then on the other side, on the pole B, we talk about the first one in unhappiness, and the contrary part is ecstasy. Why? Because as described in the poem, complements the longing and desire for happiness. It represents the fulfillment or intense passion sought by the speaker. So, in the pole A, we got happiness that complemented by intense longing and desire for happiness, and in the pole B, we got unhappiness complemented by an ecstasy, which makes the semiotic square. And I think that is all I have to say. I have to say sorry because there's so many typos in the things that I say, things that I hear, and the things that I listen. Sorry about that because I'm not that good in English actually, and uh, I think that's all. Thank you for those who listen. Thank you for those who hear. Thank you for those who watch. See you soon. And I don't know. Goodbye and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.